Welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I am your host, D Palm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. And we are brought to you, of course, by the good people at the MTR Network. You can follow the entire MTR Network at, you guessed it, the MTR Network. It's your one-stop shop for everything you need. We do it for the culture. We talk about politics, gaming, movie reviews. The Spider-Man review just dropped. I haven't listened to it yet because I haven't seen the movie yet. And damn Chris for lording that over me for the last week. Now that you found the show, make sure you don't lose the show. Subscribe in the iTunes Store. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts. I know we have Facebook videos now. I know we've got the YouTube still gets printed. I know that there's a lot of different ways to consume it. Just make sure you're getting it as consistently as possible. And now that you subscribed and you found, make sure you let us know how much you love us. Leave that 5-star review. If you leave a 5-star review, of course, it'll be read on the air as per the policy I stole blatantly from Rod and Karen over at the Black Eye Tips. You got more you want to go off your chest? You don't really want to fit it into a review? Email us at udpodcast@gmail.com. It's that time of year again. We are talking about con season. Chris is about to leave for San Diego Comic-Con. I can't go this year because I'm saving for, I guess, a wedding or something. I don't know. Anyway, but hopefully I'll be out in San Diego next year rubbing elbows and using the Phenom method to get all the best interviews and all the best coverage. The best way I can give you guys more coverage and more content is by you guys helping out the show. You can go ahead, the easiest way, the simplest way, of course, is subscribing. Of course, is 5-star reviews. Even simpler than that, we all use Amazon. I used Amazon today to buy something ridiculous. I'm not going to actually talk about it on the air. But I made sure I went through the affiliate link through mtrnetwork.net. That way, when Bezos gets his money, the people at MTR, we get just a little bit, not enough, just a little bit. It's the same Amazon you always use. It just makes sure that we get a little appreciation for your business. You can also go premium. $8 a month, over 200 extra episodes. I know we're firing back up with some nostalgia reviews. Spider-Man's 1 and 2 are coming, and I'm going to tell the truth about Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. And if you've heard anything else on our character corners, you know I'm not the biggest fan. And the last way you can help out the show and actually help you out is make sure you go to store.mtrnetwork.net. You can buy lots of different shirts. I know the Blame D Palm and Blame Chris ones are coming in the next couple of weeks. If you don't want to buy a shirt, you don't want to tell everyone with your chest how much you love us, tell them with your drink by getting a lovely, tasteful coffee mug, MTR Network, store.mtrnetwork.net, and we appreciate your patronage. Now, I know what you're thinking. This isn't Monday. What are you doing? This is UD Pop. I'm not ready for it. Well, surprise. This is what we do. Because I was sitting back and I realized that we do the wrestling podcasts for the Big Four pay-per-views, and I don't really talk a lot of grabs in between. And if you're not a wrestling fan, please don't turn it off yet. There's a story at the very top of this show that you're going to love. It transcends wrestling. It transcends sports. It shows you that scam artists will infiltrate every level of your life. So bear with us through that. But we are going to talk a little wrestling today. I've got with me from, everything now, PWTorch contributor, co-host of the East Coast Cast. We got Rich Fann with us, man. What up, Rich?
Hey, Palm, what's going on? What's going on, listening audience? It's a pleasure to be back on.
Man, it's great to have you back. I think you've updated the ad since then. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, Rich_Fan. That's 2 N's. And yeah, man, I normally have like my guests, like what they do and how I can plug them. But I need you to go ahead and put yourself over here because maximize your minutes. I don't want to do you a lick of not justice.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. So I do a lot, and it's all fun. So it's one of those things where I just blink and the time goes by. With the Torch, I contribute on the East Coast Cast on Wednesdays, which is basically kind of what you're going to hear between me and D Palm today, only with everything else. So we talk about wrestling, we talk about politics, we talk about essentially the MTR Network's subject, and then, of course, if we get the odd caller that decides he wants to talk about a random movie he saw in 1986 or how his ex-girlfriend reminds him of a wrestler's wife, we'll go there. Or if someone tries to prank us, we're going to go there. And I also contribute on Fridays with the live cast with the legendary Bruce Mitchell, one of the forerunners of wrestling journalism and editorial greatness. And I also, if you're interested in the Bills, cover the Bills on my blog, Buffalo Wins. And I think that's it.
Isn't that enough?
It is. It better be.
I tell you what, man, I've got to tune into the Wednesday cast sometime, and I got to call in because I need people to talk about Vision Quest with.
Oh yeah, see, you should do that because I know Cam and Trav. Well, Cam, I know you work well with. Cam and Trav talked about. Oh God, something happened, and it led into Vision Quest, which then led into who would play the modern day version with characters currently in the WWE. I know Gable got a big role.
Loudon Swain, I can see. Who plays Loudon Swain? I mean, it's got to be Gable, right?
Yeah, I think it has to be. It has to
You know
be.
what? Actually, you know what? It could be Gable if you want to go for a straight remake. If you're going to go for reinterpretation, Akira Tozawa. I could see that.
Oh yeah,
Just
I'm
throwing
here.
Germans and Senton bombs on everyone.
And no subtitles. Just
Oh,
let the man
never,
talk.
no subtitles. No, does not need no subtitles. Well, I'm glad that you're here, Rich. We're going to talk about wrestling, but before we talk about wrestling, we're talking about something that I've been preaching for a while now, that everything is pro wrestling. And there's been a recent uptick in people who are scam artists being called out as scam artists. Dr. Umar Johnson, there are air quotes on all three of those words, Sean King. And now we come to the realm of the squared circle, where being a scam artist is not only celebrated, it's actually the business itself. So what people don't know about pro wrestling is that the core of it is it's carny. It's the traveling carnival that comes to town, puts on a show, steals your money, and then goes to the next town and does it again. They still call their fans marks, which as I get older, I'm like I get more and more like perturbed with that last vestige of carnyism. Rich, does that bug you being called a mark?
I yeah, definitely. And I know
It feels
when
like
I
they're
deal
putting
with
something over on you.
yeah, it's funny because when Bruce talks about it, he mentions the whole history of the grifter lingo, not even just carnies, but like any con man,
Yeah.
and how you can't be a mark if you're a willing participant in an activity. That it just makes the whole thing dirty. And I think a lot of wrestlers, when they get mad with fans using lingo online, I think they don't get that anymore. And they're working themselves, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, but if we're in on the work, I guess the fact that we're even there is making us the mark. I mean, even if we're in on it, we're in on it and still shut up. We're the saddest of marks. We're the marks who
Yeah,
didn't get fooled. We know who did get fooled. Everyone who's ever come in contact with Jeff Jarrett, apparently. Look, the Jarrett family is a legendary one in wrestling. I respect everything that the family means, but we've reached a breaking point where I'm watching things happen with Jeff Jarrett that are insane. And people, for those who don't know, Jeff Jarrett, for me, was my favorite Jarrett run was when he came to WCW and did like the Ric Flair cover band. The ring gear made no sense. There was a weird heel turn for no good reason, but I loved it. It was Jeff Jarrett. He fought to be a horseman. I loved him. I thought he was a great performer. Little did I know at the time he was using that just to get more money out of Vince. He eventually goes back to WWE. He parts their ways. And then when WCW folds in 2001, he, his father, Jerry Jarrett, and Bob Ryder were on a fishing trip and decided to make a wrestling company. The first show went on the air June 19th, 2002. Before the airing, which was live because you're Jarrett, before they went live, a dark match happened where a 450-pound wrestler hit the ropes with so much force that they broke the rope right before they went to air. They shuffled the schedule. They got the air. Yeah, they made air, but it was all ugly. And if that's not a precursor to what would actually happen to what will become TNA / Impact / GFW, we'll get to that. I don't know what it is.
that's them in a nutshell. I mean, you look at, I know editor publisher Wade Keller in the Torch talks about how uh, Jerry Jarrett called him and was saying they
Sorry,
wanted to
sorry,
do
I
something.
couldn't find it earlier.
I figured it was coming. But Jerry talked about how he wanted to do something that pro wrestling fans hadn't seen, and then he also started citing numbers. And this is kind of leads into what you're talking about as far as the apple and trees. He was citing numbers about it was almost Steiner math and how many people had left watching pro wrestling since the WWE was the sole entity, and how if he could just get like 10% of the 40% that left, he could guarantee X% in revenue, and that would allow him to build a weekly wrestling show solely subsidized by pay-per-view. And I don't know how Wade did not laugh him off the phone.
It's because Wade's a professional.
Yes.
A professional. But you're right. They opened up with just their pay-per-view model. And then they eventually got a deal to be broadcast on Fox Sports in 2004. They brought in a six-sided ring. But I'll give them this. They did try to treat the product with a bit more like treat it more like a sport. There were timekeepers, things of that nature. But just structurally speaking, geometrically speaking, a six-sided structure is less stable than a four-sided structure, which could result in talent getting injured, correct?
Absolutely.
Weird. But, yeah. Jeff Jarrett helps run TNA basically into the ground. I don't know how else to say it. They ended up...
and he paid money to all those guys. He paid money to guys he needed to bring in. That was his friends. He made himself the star of the company for the first few years, creating a title and a match, a la Triple H, I guess, where he was the only person that could win it, King of the Mountain.
There are no lies in what you just said. They brought in Dixie Carter as the president, which I'm not here to bash the Carter family. I'm not. This is about Jeff Jarrett.
Every Father's Day, I need to send Dixie's dad a card and just be like, you real, man. You real. Because I know if my daughter, like, I don't have a son right now, but if I ever had a daughter and she came up to me and said, I need you to come across with about $47 million for me to just burn in the backyard, I don't know if I could do what he did.
Literally light it on fire.
I got no words for that. Like, how do you first start as a financier and you think it's a fun thing, and then the bills are coming in, and you're in energy, so you're making money, and then your daughter's like, well, I need another 10 million, and then maybe another 15, and Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff tells me I need this and this and this.
Man. It's crazy, and I think it's not unfair, but it's interesting to hear some of the shoot interviews with guys like Samoa Joe and who are out now who say, or even Bubba Ray Dudley, who was on Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast a couple weeks ago, said that the issue was never creative. It was always, in which, hey, you don't want to bury what you don't have to bury. But he said the problem was always the front office. And Jeff Jarrett somehow loses control of the company, marries his top star's wife, and then transitions his way out of TNA and starts his own wrestling company called Global Force Wrestling. Now, if I say Global Force Wrestling is literally a show game mixed with a Ponzi scheme, is that in any way inaccurate?
If anything, you might be unfair to Ponzi schemes.
Ponzi schemes have a product. What people don't realize is when Jeff Jarrett launched Global Force Wrestling, he had all these contracts signed, he had a belt made. What was Global Force Gold?
Oh, that was toward the end. That was when, and this is skipping a step. This is in the midpoint of Global Force Wrestling, when there was a Powerball winner in Tennessee that he convinced to fund his product of nothing. And when the guy finally realized it and got out before he was broke, Jeff decided he needed to support Global Force by selling gold.
That's right, kids. Global Force Wrestling, which, to my knowledge, put on one event ever?
One paid event. Everything else was subsidized by minor league baseball teams that let them split the food profits like my high school football team would with the parents.
Okay, so one paid event. He then is literally selling gold to keep it afloat. And somehow, some way, Dixie Carter gets bought out. And this company called Anthem will be taking control of TNA. There's maybe just a little swell of hope through the industry that maybe, just maybe, a second place for people to work would really emerge in the United States. Much love to ROH, but it is what it is. I mean, there's clearly a ceiling at ROH.
Yeah, especially now that their parent company is soulless parrots of the president and wants to get rid of them so they can make more room to create their version of Fox News around network television.
Well, they've always been that, but they just acquired more things now. Sinclair's always owned ROH. rich. I mean, just now they're bigger and they have the opportunity to actually do that. So Impact Wrestling, or TNA, excuse me, is bought out by Anthem Group. Anthem is a bunch of people who have money and love wrestling, but don't know anything about wrestling. So what do you do when you have something that you love but don't know anything about? You hire an expert. Why on God's green earth would your expert be Jeff Jarrett?
I mean, why not, Palm? I mean,
like, oh, I'm serious. Like of all the people you could have called, call Jim Ross, call Jim Cornette, and he's crazy, but he's not a thief. Jeff Jarrett is a thief. It's like you see this news and you're like, am I taking crazy pills? And this is why it's important to have to love wrestling but not love wrestling, because I guarantee there are people out there who will defend Jeff Jarrett today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's funny to me because the whole thing with Jarrett is people forget that his last match he did what only wrestlers in the 80s would do to Vince, and that was hold him up for more money to take a dive.
He's literally the territory's, like, all the darkest part of the territory days distilled into one human being.
Yep.
Because under Jeff Jarrett's direction, they not only hired a bunch of his friends and got them paid, they then acquired the Anthem Group. I shit you not. Paid money for a company that was literally selling gold to stay afloat.
And whose tag team champions are currently the backup dancers to the Jinder Mahal Experience on SmackDown.
That is true. I hadn't even thought about that. So on April 20th, the merger with Global Force was announced. On June 28th, it was announced that the acquisition had gone through. And then they announced that the TNA name is gone, which the TNA name is terrible. It's a double entendre. I contend that this is Vince Russo's doing. Has he ever taken credit for it?
He hasn't, bro, but, you know.
That's the one thing in wrestling he won't take credit for.
Yeah. He's like,
San
you know,
Martino. Didn't you hear?
Yeah. Oh, you just look in the annals of wrestling history. It was Bruno. He found Bruno. He found Hulk. He found Tanahashi. He found
Drake Andre, man. I'm telling you. Vince Russo hung the moon and pointed at the stars. Anyway. So it was important to get away from that double entendre TNA. Impact was a pretty good name, not going to lie. Impact Wrestling, it harkened back to TNA days, wasn't too strong. But for you to say we're now rebranding ourselves after your 15th year celebratory pay-per-view, you now want to say, well, now we're Global Force Wrestling. And the man who started the business, who started this company, was ousted. He's now getting paid to come back and call it the name he made up and put on one show for. That's a scammer, bro.
That's the height of scamming right there. That's, man, like, I don't know how he did it, but and all along the way, he gets to do the complaint of, I would have done it better, but, you know, I got forced out. It's like, but you got forced. Every time you pull a string, everything just falls apart because every excuse he makes diverts from the previous thing he was doing to be shady. So right. I'm just flabbergasted. And it's sad that Dixie Carter made the brand of TNA. TNA, I mean, that sounds so tawdry anyway, but Impact Wrestling was so broken that you have to now look at Global Force as the thing that's going to be the better brand. Heck, Global Force, when you look at the logo now, is above Anthem. And Anthem's going to be around because Anthem basically has taken the bullet for Jeff Jarrett, decided to play games with the Hardys on the way out.
It's ridiculous. Let's go from very, very bad things in wrestling that make me sad, things that make me very happy, because we've been treated to one of the weirdest 6 months in professional wrestling history, culminating with New Japan Pro Wrestling running a G1 special in Los Angeles over 2 nights.
Yeah, we did it.
What? How did we get here, man? Because, like, honestly, like, I'm a huge fan, and I thought if they ever wanted to pull it off, they could do it. But to go 2 nights, to do it in LA and to sell out that quickly, this has got to really, really embolden them as far as their advancement into America.
Oh yeah, in 2018 they're going to reopen their
The
LA
LA dojo. I
office.
saw the announcement. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kadani, the president of New Japan, is very serious about making inroads in America, starting in the West Coast because that's the easiest travel path and stuff. But getting their U.S. champ to travel, go to places like Ring of Honor, PWG, etc. So they're here and they're gonna try to do it the right way without overextending themselves. Because the worst thing that could happen for them is pulling a Jeff Jarrett and then overextending yourself.
Now you're selling gold to keep things afloat.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like if the end game of this made the worst timeline of Jeff Jarrett somehow acquiring New Japan Pro Wrestling,
Oh,
just call it, man. Just call it.
you just made me feel really, really physically ill. Let's talk about the event. Did you catch both nights?
Yep, I covered them for the Torch. I loved it. The first half of the first night wasn't the best, and it was a combination of bad production and JR not necessarily knowing the wrestlers that he's covering, and that was mainly the Ring of Honor guys, not the New Japan guys,
Right.
because I don't disparage Jim. But then by night two, he found his groove. He obviously did some vanity searches on Twitter and was far more prepared for the jokes that people had been throwing with nice barbs of his own in mid commentary.
What night one matches stuck out for you? Because is Juice Robinson is what's his face, right? NXT.
Yeah.
CJ, was it CJ something?
CJ Parker.
CJ Parker, that's right. He broke Kevin Owens' nose.
Yeah.
He's come a long way.
Oh yeah, he has done what Cody Rhodes had planned to do and what Drew McIntyre had done in terms of deciding before they could shove him that he'd jump and use the opportunity to reinvent himself. And he did it going in basically as what they call in New Japan a young boy and working his way to the middle of the card. And I'm really proud of that guy. That guy, he did it the right way. He's got the Japanese fans eating out of his hand. He's had 2 title matches, one never title match against, I want to say it was against my boy Suzuki, and one intercontinental title match against Naito. And he did not, he quit himself quite well in both.
He looks great in that first round match against Zack Sabre Jr. First night star for me. I loved watching War Machine. I know that their contracts are up and people are kind of wondering what they're doing, but putting the IWGP tag titles on them is a good way to keep them around because you look at that New Japan schedule, there's really no place to defend until like September, so at least they're hanging around that long. I loved the Elgin Omega match. Watching Kenny work with people who are bigger and stronger than him is always fun. And Elgin has come a long way too.
Oh yeah, Big Mike went from the guy who quit after being Ring of Honor champion to one of the best gaijin they've had in some time. He's basically a shorter version of Dr. Death Steve Williams in New Japan, and people eat out of his hand. I mean, his matches have been, again, Kenny Omega, we'll get to him in a second, but Kenny Omega he's got the juice, he's the man. But before that, last year this time, Big Mike was proven to the world that he could bring it in a G1 tournament, and he hasn't stopped since.
Main event night 1, Cody Rhodes taking on Okada. And this is probably one of my favorite Cody indie matches from this run. But it also reminded me how much I love watching Okada wrestle.
Yeah.
It's just do you think he could, if he ever decide, I don't think he'll ever leave, but if he decide to come stateside, do you think he translates?
I think he does, but I think the question would be, how much are they going to give the same presentation? Because if this was in the United States, if the booker of the company was his manager, people would be up in arms. But in Japan, it's cool.
That's how you make it. You could bring the States and do a great heel run like that.
Yeah. If anything, get Vince to dress up like a cholo, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
Vince manage him.
Yeah. He's the Rainmaker. Yeah, he would do it.
But the thing is, it'd be that begrudging. Oh, that'd be like, ooh, we just booked Okada.
Yeah.
Night 2 got off to a good start too. More of the IWGP new title United States Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Ishii and Omega advancing to the final. So is Beretta's going to be a heavyweight now?
Yeah.
Huh. All right. I mean, look. Hey, I'm not mad at him, but I'm gonna miss Roppongi Vice.
Yeah, well, when you look at Beretta, like he's always been a big dude,
Yeah.
and since Cody Rhodes left after his neck injury a couple of years ago with the Young Bucks, they haven't had too many big American dudes that are like that body type, more thinner than like a Fale or a War
Right.
Machine. So he'd be a natural fit. And I think at this point, my boy, he just probably is ready to retire. Because remember, he helped out with the original crew at the New Japan Dojo. So they all like Samoa Joe, Daniel
Yeah.
Bryan, they love him. And he has a burgeoning. I don't know how much he's going to be serious about it, but I would figure if they're going to make him the office guy to work with Tiger Hattori in LA, one of the reasons he didn't go to the WWE when they tried to raid everyone last year was he wants to be a music producer.
Oh.
Yeah, he's been doing his own production. Like the Roppongi Vice song, he made that. Like he produced all of their music. So he might use this as an opportunity to kind of do some stuff on the side in the States while also helping out his parent company.
That's awesome. The main event of the weekend of the night, a 30-minute war between Kenny Omega and Ishii. Like, is this the best 6 months we've seen someone put together in recent memory? Like, I struggle to think of a better 6 months unless you want to count like Bryan's Mania run.
I I think this is a good question because a lot of people are looking at this from the other angle of is Okada having the best champion run since Flair in '89, and I would say yes, it's probably better at this point than Flair in '89 because you have. I mentioned it to my colleague at the Torch when we were covering Night 2. That match, I try not to do stars because I don't have the experience of
Right. We don't. Yeah.
for 20 years of
the weight to it.
Yeah, but that Ishii match was one of the best matches I've ever seen in a wrestling ring. And it wasn't something I expected coming out of the U.S. title finals. Those guys went everywhere.
It was a clear message from New Japan that this title is going to matter. They're not going to let what happened to the IC title a couple years ago happen. It's going to be competed for. Like you look at the names in this tournament: Zack Sabre Jr., Jay Lethal. We were talking about Elgin, Naito, Juice Robinson, Hangman Page. These are great wrestlers.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've got Kenny Omega says he's gonna appearing on Ring of Honor television, we're gonna get Omega Ospreay, probably gonna Omega Ricochet. Like this is gonna be a hell of a run. And then you go champ versus champ at G1, and if he can get that win off Okada, man, this might be the year to end all years.
And I mean, you just talked about a guy we didn't even get a chance to discuss his Night 2 yet, and that's Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
He is ready, and this was the first appearance for him on American television since his dispute with Lucha Underground. And he made sure they knew he was not happy about it. He cut that promo, and he was spitting the fire. And I mentioned to my colleague, and I'll say the same thing to you. I wear glasses normally because I'm not a big fan of wearing contacts anymore because it's weird. It dries my eyes out, whatever. I can't look down sometimes without my glasses falling off my face or my hat if I'm driving, getting blown into the back seat. And that man with a hat and glasses did a tope over the top rope, landed on his feet, and ran back into the ring. Nothing was lost.
He is. Yes. How long of a run do you think before he shows up in Orlando with the rest of his friends?
I think he'll be because I think if he's legally allowed to be on TV, I would guess we have until like December or January when
you think he'll work G1? You think he'll work Wrestle Kingdom?
That's the big question, and I think it depends on what Kadani wants out of his wrestlers because does he want this to constantly be the Senior Bowl before they move up to the WWE?
Like whether he wants it or not, WWE's coming.
Yeah,
and these guys
especially now that you set foot on their turf.
Exactly.
Even though they were at the we talk about this and how awesome it is, but we don't talk about at the literal same time they were in LA, the WWE were in Japan.
it almost felt like synergy, but the fact that we all know it's competition makes it even
Yeah.
more fun.
Yeah, it's like, it's a shame if I just snapped up a couple more of your stars. It's like, hey, it's a shame if
Can
we
you
take a
just
couple of your.
come to lunch with Kevin and Seth? It'll be fine. Oh yeah, this is our friend Hunter.
Yeah.
We just want to talk. We're just
Oh yeah,
talking.
they really are. The WWE are the dirtiest SEC
Oh,
recruiting person you
they're
can
gonna
think of.
drop some envelopes.
Yeah. The bag man shows up. I mean, it is it's one of those things where if I was the company, I wouldn't want to hear the pithy interviews where it's like, yeah, I was sending some text. Like, I don't know if you heard, I'm sorry for the side. I don't know if you heard Mike Bennett talking about how him and Maria signed with the WWE.
Yeah, I listened to him on Edge and Christian's pod.
Yeah, like, that's hilarious to me. He's like, yeah, I was thinking about nah, how about you wait 1 month? Or shoot, wait a couple of days. Trust me, just wait. What's that, Hunter? 3? Yeah, wait 3 days, and we'll talk. I was like, that's so shameful. Like, it's
So
Impact, I don't
shameful.
care. But I didn't care because it was Impact. But it was like same thing happened with New Japan. Like, you got Nakamura. You see all these nice pictures. Like, Okada's chilling with Nakamura, and Nakamura's like, yeah, man, I had a great time. Good to see you here in the States.
Okada was a gorilla all of SmackDown.
Yeah.
This is it, man.
That's
And
because
he's never coming. Like, listen, he's never coming.
No. I have a number of people on Twitter send me messages about that. It's like, in the history of Japanese pro wrestling, no Japanese top star has ever left in his prime to go to the United States. Why? Because they're not stupid.
Because you're God. He's God. Okada's God in Japan.
Yeah, he makes $2.5 million a year. People love him, worship him, put him in all the TVs. They want to put him in every Japanese movie possible because people forget. Yeah. I mean, he's in freaking Tekken. Like, could you imagine the WWE somehow getting in Street Fighter? I can't. Because Vince wouldn't think it's something like that, because even though he's a genius businessman, there's certain things just generationally, as a 70-year-old man, he wouldn't care about a video game. Whereas a 50-year-old, 47-year-old Kadani is trying to do things like Vince would back when he was 50 or 40.
By the way, I don't know if we're not going to sidetrack the podcast, but I read that press release about 2K18, and I'm giddy.
Survivor Series, like,
son.
I told my friend, sent me the text of the picture with a picture of it. I was like, don't play with my emotions. This is Photoshop. This is some devilment. You're just trying to get me.
Oh man! All right, so let's talk about WWE before we get out of here. I know lots happened since the last time we spoke, but I just want to talk about some current stories. Over on SmackDown Live, they had a great last event, Money in the Bank, a little bit marred by some of the mainstream press they got because of the booking of the finish. What did you feel? See, I'm of two minds. Part of me says, if you're gonna tout it, if you're gonna sell it as the first ever women's Money in the Bank match, that the ending doesn't make sense. But if you're selling it as that, and your goal is to get heat on the winner, I'm concerned that Carmella didn't get the heat, that the company got the heat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I'm completely with you. And it was built, and when we would talk about the history of WCW and how they kind of went down the downfall, their pay-per-views pushed the resolution to television, which back then wasn't the best idea because you were trying to make money off the pay-per-view revenue. With the WWE network and their TV contracts, they're pushing the big events now to TV to make sure USA stays placated. And it worked. From that standpoint, the ratings were higher than they'd been since like 3, 4, 5 months ago. But you now have an angry fan base. And because you've kind of whittled away over the years at that fan base, you now have your most ardent fans. So this isn't just the guy who's going to tune in because that was a cool idea. These are the people like us who are going to analyze every single move you make, and right or wrong, hold you to it if you keep talking about, we're doing this for May, we're doing this for Moolah, we're doing this for... And even as a sidebar, I was very interested they didn't mention people like Sable and Ivory and Molly and etc.
Well, part of it is they know what their product was when those people were big.
Yeah.
It's the same reason they went with Mae Young over Moolah for the name. It's just there's a lot of stories out there about Mae Young that aren't flattering for the company or for her. Or excuse me, for
I'm
Moolah.
really surprised. Oh no, even for Mae Young, I'm surprised. Like, Bruce pulled out the police reports, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, but I think hers aren't as well known.
Yeah.
Because if you're surprised, like you're not going to get on a simple
average
Google.
fan doesn't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing.
A simple Google search isn't going to get you. The Moolah stories are fucking famous.
Yeah, she was the devil.
Everyone's like,
Triple
H buried people. Nah, dog, you didn't see nobody bury someone until you see what Moolah used to do to people.
Yeah, you need to have in Triple H's office. He has an in case of emergency, and he's got Moolah's old shovel.
Oh, she called it Old Faithful.
Yeah.
But no, did you think that the booking was, I don't know, was it too smart for its own good? Because I think the goal was to get heat on Carmella, but because we are the fans that we are and the kind of we evolved to this postmodern pro wrestling, did it backfire on him?
Yeah, I think it did.
Okay.
And I think in the long run, a lot of people are going to excuse it and kind of it's going to go under the door. Yeah. But I expected more out of them, especially because they've done so well.
Right.
If they had been backsliding and doing things silly, sure, it would have been a thing. Okay, WWE being WWE. But because they've done so well and they've given so much respect to the women's division, it became problematic for me.
Yeah, it was a mixed message that we didn't need. Did you catch the rap battle on SmackDown?
Speaking of mixed messages, yes, I did.
No, shout out to Wale. Like, people don't know, like, Wale's a real deal wrestling fan. He ended up putting up some of the money so that Apollo Crews and was it Cedric too? Who else?
Yeah, and Cedric
could get looked at by WWE. Like, he is invested. He was really excited about this. Watching him pop over to it, be like, I got to see AJ do a spin route in the back. I was like, oh, okay, well, you're Mark. But it was a fun rap battle. That was look, Usos won. Everybody's like, well, I don't know. You didn't have your jokes. It's not rap battles win. You win with the lines, and the Usos won.
No, yeah, they won it when he pulled out the rated R line. Like, that was a felony.
And it's so funny because I think it's really great. I think it's amazing that some producer in the back, they were like, hey, can we say this line? They were like, yeah, say it. We'll just cut. Because they cut it from their YouTube.
Oh, wow.
But they knew to get out there. They were like, let's just take, hey, look, you got to let them live sometime. And I guarantee they get more over because of it. It's amazing what happens. You let the talent do what it needs to do to get over. They know how to get over. Most of them.
Yeah. I mean, look at what happened with Roman when he was when he came here to Pittsburgh. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3. And then it was leading up to when he won the title for the first time in Philly. When he was here in Pittsburgh, Vince got in his face and dropped an F-bomb, but they had it timed so perfectly that it got bleeped on TV. But in the arena, he said it, and people lost their minds. And it was because of the same reason. Like, Vince, if he trusts you, he will let you go further than the realm of television standards and practices may allow, and he'll take the heat for you. And I got to give him credit for that.
100%, man, and I couldn't love it more. Well, before we get out of here, let's talk about the card that's coming up this Sunday. Great Balls of Fire, dumb name for what's shaped to be a pretty good pay-per-view. Maybe the best Raw one since the brand split. The show's going to open with Neville continuing his King of the Cruiserweight run, taking on Akira Tozawa. Is this the man to topple the Lord of the Cruiserweights?
I would love it for the Titus brand, but I'm feeling like the King of the Cruiserweights is going to use some shenanigans and get out of it.
Like, if they're saving Neville for Ricochet next year, I'm very excited.
Yeah. Wait, okay, be honest, Paul. I said this a couple of times on our live cast on Friday. I need this to be a Goodwill Hunting situation. You cannot put Ricochet in 205 Live because he's so much more than 205 Live. All of these guys are.
Yeah.
I would rather Ricochet show up on SmackDown and become Baby Rock and flourish.
Well, there you go. You just proved my booking.
Yeah. Or you could be Roman Reigns. I mean, oh God, we even talk about the Roman bar. Like, that Roman bar was the one good New Day line.
Oh, yeah. Look, they did fine. And just look, when they brought the hammer was brought. It was over.
Yeah.
Usos won. It was a Vince Carter gift. It's over. It's that one.
Yeah.
A match
Yeah,
that's maybe never going to end. And you look at this card, I didn't realize this match was actually booked this way. And now I wonder what squashes are coming. Cesaro and Sheamus, the champions, taking on the Hardy Boys? Man, I don't know. In a 30-minute Iron Man tag match. Is this our first Iron Man tag match?
I think so.
It feels like it, right?
Yeah, and to me the timing's curious because Dave Meltzer, the Observer, had reported that the Hardys may have resolution, which probably means Jeff Jarrett got yet more money to get the rights to the broken gimmick, which would make sense that something happens in this Iron Man match and it breaks poor Matt, poor innocent, soulless Matt.
Well, if this is the kickoff for that, that's fine. I think it's really weird to have an Iron Man match blow off this feud. I don't think they've got, like, we've already been in the cage. You think it's back out of the cage, an Iron Man match? I don't know. It feels weird to me. Another match that they moved both these guys from Smackdown, and it feels like they've been doing the same thing for the last 6 months with a small caveat. The Miz has always needed an entourage, and now he has one. The Miz, the champion, Intercontinental title match will be accompanied by Maurice, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel taking on the Lunatic Fringe, Dean Ambrose. I just need this story to go away.
You forgot the baller brands on Dean Ambrose.
I need the story to go away. Let's blow off this feud. Let's schmozz the finish. I don't even care. You can have Dean lose and still look strong as he's taking on 4 of them. That's fine. Let's just get these 2 guys away from each other. Go link the Miz up with Seth or something.
Man, I don't think the world's ready for the Miz and Seth because the bars he would throw at Seth.
Yo, because Seth's so much worse than him on the mic.
Yeah. Miz with a hot mic, he is another one. Like, if he could somehow get tied into the Uso penitentiary, that wouldn't have been
nice
fair.
To see.
It would not be fair.
Do you see the first of all, do you hope this is the blow off too? And secondly, who do you think walks out with the belt?
I think Miz retains because at this point he's going to get into like triple digits with the Intercontinental title.
Right.
And I think the Miz Taraj, this is the best Bo Dallas has looked since he's been in the company.
Including wearing gold in NXT.
Yeah. And Curtis Axel, God bless him. I mean, I know we didn't do a UDP for the last Smackdown pay-per-view, but the shade levels that I was throwing at the WWE over the fact that his grandfather showed up to back up Randy Orton is like, hey, yo, granddad, I'm on the other show. Like, don't worry.
You're right. I can't even say anything about that because you're 100% right. The only I'll defend it is they needed old guys to put over the Randy thing.
Yeah, but
not like that. You're right. Not like that.
But yeah, so I'm hoping this all ends and these guys move on to whomever the next face. I don't know if it's going to be because Rollins really he's going to be with Bray Wyatt for a while, I think.
Oh.
Which doesn't help either of them because I know we skipped over Enzo and Big Cass, but Seth and Bray is the feud I'm here for because WWE is unwittingly giving their fan base brain aneurysms. When they did that first promo and Seth is like, first of all, you can't be a god because there are no such things as gods. You're in the middle of Bible Belt country and everyone's like, wait, what? You said Jesus didn't do this? It's like, don't go on Seth's Twitter. He's a woke Satanist. It's okay.
It's true. It's all very, very, very true. You're 100% right. And it's so wild because in the ring, I'm excited to watch these 2 guys work, but they've done a very poor job, in my opinion, of building it.
Yeah.
I'm not excited for conflict resolution. I'm here to watch good wrestling, but I'm not excited about conflict. Here's a conflict I can't get enough of: Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, those two. I mean, the real tears that they were pouring out of each other.
Who knew? First of all, that Enzo could do something besides scream.
Yeah, this is true.
And for the first time, I think since I've been watching him, I saw gold around that kid's waist. Like I see, there's money in that kid. Like you could do an underdog U.S. title run, an underdog IC title run. I would send him 205 Live and have him cheat to knock off Neville. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Have him be the one that knocked the king off and let the I almost dropped a catchphrase. Good Lord. I'm telling you, he gets you invested. I don't know what it is about him, but he's found a way to connect with the fans, and he's going to get his head kicked in, but I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. And the thing for me is with this whole situation, I didn't see it coming. Vince likes his big boys. Don't get me wrong. I know this. But I never thought in a million years that between the two of them, Baron Corbin would have been better equipped to handle the main roster compared to Cass. Because Cass, him and Enzo have been joined at the hip since they were like 15. I figured he had a little bit just by, osmosis.
No, they met. No, I mean, that's kayfabe only. They met in NXT.
What do you mean?
I guess they played basketball together, but they really met when they got to Orlando.
Oh, right. Yeah, they played basketball when they were younger, but they didn't. They weren't
like know each other. But my thing is they've done a really good job of just taking the Enzo line. You're just a 7-footer and a catchphrase that I wrote. Like that's. I don't know if there's real life animosity, but they've created the atmosphere where it could exist, and that's what I'm here for. Do you think this is the blow off for this feud, or do you think they're gonna run it to SummerSlam?
I think they might run to SummerSlam, and then kind of resolve it then, because that's a good NXT send off. Like you're gonna have the NXT people there; they can kind of keep tapping into the history.
That's true. It's a really good point. I never thought about that.
And I really like it. I like the fact that, the wrestling, it's the opposite of the Rollins and
right. The ring work's nothing to write home about, but the story they can tell. I'm excited for Sunday for that match.
Yeah.
Sasha, Alexa Bliss, I smell schmaz. I smell this match actually happening at SummerSlam. What about you?
Same. Yeah. I think they're going to have yet another first time something for the ladies. They have done the Iron Woman. They have already done Ladder. They've done Hell in a Cell.
They've done tables. They haven't done TLC.
Oh, well, yeah. Jesus.
Which, with those two little girls, could be a real car crash.
Yeah. I was going to say 3 stages of hell just to mess with them.
I think you have to throw Nia in there and make it a 3-way just so someone actually goes through a table.
Oh, God. Yeah, I could not imagine. Like, that would be an animated GIF for the ages, just watching the both of them bounce off tables.
Remember Sasha bounced off that one against Charlotte last year?
Yeah.
In the Hell in the Cell match, and it's funny as hell today.
Bing.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just mentally, I was just doing the onomatopoeia of how they would just bounce off. And it's like, oh, no, there's a crack in the ring. There goes Sasha. There goes.
Well, a gimmick match I'm looking forward to, since, as you put earlier, Roman Reigns did the Rey Mysterio Memorial spot and got lawn darted into a vehicle. Roman Reigns, Braun, ambulance match. I don't know what they... Is Roman going over?
I think so.
Me too.
Because I think they're kind of accelerating things. When they brought John Cena back as a free agent, I think they accelerated everything by 6 months. So I think he's going to be going up against Samoa Joe or Brock, or in a 3-way with the two of them at SummerSlam for the title.
That'd be that's a lot of Haas in one ring.
Yeah, that's two Samoans and a Minnesotan that basically should be a Samoan by proxy. He's built
in a mountain. 2 Samoans in a mountain.
8.5 men.
Well, let's talk about that main event. Brock Lesnar taking on Samoa Joe, Universal Championship on the line. I really want Joe to win. I don't think he will. They will put Joe over Brock because Brock's here till at least next Mania. But I think you can put Joe over Brock here. Have Paul turn on Joe? Have Paul turn on Brock?
Oh, this is Big Show all over again. That would be beautiful.
It'd be so good. I need this to be a real angle with a real match. And I think what they've shown us is that it's not going to be a squash, tell you that much.
No, not at all. And I'm so happy for this match happening and it resulting in the way it has, because this is another sign. Again, I want to give him a tip of the cap to Vince. When you prove his faith in you is warranted, he will push you. Mm-hmm. When AJ Styles came in as the redneck underdog bulldog and all that crap, everyone was like, oh, sweet Jesus, no. And then he had wonderful matches with Roman, and Vince was like, let me put you on Smackdown because I got plans for Roman, and I'm going to let you run that for a little bit. And same thing's happening with Joe. He gave him 5 minutes to prove himself against Paul, and that was one of the most riveting angles I've seen in years. And then you add in the psychosis of him and Brock in 3 separate encounters, just turning it into Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and I'm here for it. Here for
it. It's going to be for a pay-per-view with such a shitty title. Great Balls of Fire should actually be pretty entertaining this Sunday. I'm looking forward to being sports entertained. Rich, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for helping us out. Follow him on Twitter at Rich_Fann. That's 2 N's. Tell them where they can find you one more time. Put yourself over a little bit.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on the Pro Wrestling Torch at PWTorch, covering the East Coast Cast and live cast on Fridays and Wednesdays, respectively, and Buffalo Wins for anything you want to talk about with the Bills. God help you if you do. And that'll be about. And occasionally on USA Today, doing articles for the Bills as well for a buddy of mine. But that's something I just kind of do, quote unquote, in my spare time.
Yeah, spare time. Got tons of that. Well, I really do appreciate you coming on. Make sure you check him out in all the ways you can. This has been Unanimous Position Podcast. I've been your host, D-Palm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. If you're going to talk about the show on any social media, please use the hashtag UDPod. Subscribe in the iTunes Store. Subscribe everywhere podcasts are given away for absolutely free. Make sure you leave that 5-star review, and you go ahead and join our premium network. Buy things through our affiliate links, and shop at our store. We'll be back on Monday with a brand new podcast with a very special guest. That was your show. This is your outro. See y'all next week.